with one of our companies, Pure Harvest, raising funding both from the UAE and outside. And we have also seen the likes of the Abu Dhabi Investments Office put in a lot of incentives just to support this sector. So another sector I would highlight probably is the edtech, as well as the health tech, which play a pivotal role in the social and obviously the knowledge economy of the region. So edtech has grown exponentially for obvious reasons. I think the pandemic has actually accelerated that growth, and I believe we will see much more in the coming years.
And so while startups are one key component of the ecosystem, the investors are also crucial to support the overall system. From your experience, Frédéric, why the French tech ecosystem and the startups are attractive today for VCs like Mubadala? And maybe also a question for you, Jida, could you tell us a little bit more about the VC community in Abu Dhabi?
So yes, thank you, Maël. I'm a VC based in London, and I've been working on the European tech ecosystem for the past 20 years. France is particularly exciting for us for many reasons. So, historically, France has been well known for the talent of its engineers and the talents for its technical education. But I think there's a couple of things that have changed radically over the past 5 or 6 years. The first thing is, there's now, government in place that is clearly pro-entrepreneurship and pro-startups, and it makes a really big difference. So, the government has come up with a series of regulations and legislations that allow startups to scale faster. One of them, there are many of them, but just one that I think that resonates really with me is the tech visa. So it's very easy for a French startup to, recruit someone from with specific skills from outside of France, for instance, right? This tech visa is very much one of the best ones, I think, in Europe if I compare to the other countries. So that's one example. And the other thing that has changed over the past 5 or 6 years in France is we're now seeing, serial entrepreneurs, starting their second or third businesses. And that makes a huge difference because these people have been there before. They've been through the cycle. They know the ups and downs of startups. And above all, they've got the second time round, they've got a much higher ambition, right? So they want to build a global business that is going to be a winner on a global basis. Criteo is a good example of this, right? So Criteo is an ad tech business that, IPO'd on the NASDAQ several years ago. And it was a unicorn at the time when it IPO'd. And out of Criteo, we've seen a number of people coming out of this business and then creating their second business, right? So, businesses like Ledger, for instance, or EasyWork are, created by people who used to work at Criteo. So yeah, so that, these things, combined together makes us very bullish on the French ecosystem. And we've actually done an investment in France recently, actually, a company called Aukin, which operates in the healthcare space. And we are very excited to be part of their story now.
Thank you. And Jida, on your side?
From our side, Maël, and to add to what Frédéric just said, Hub 71 is a tech ecosystem that provides access to a network of interconnected enablers, right? For startups to succeed and to be based out of Abu Dhabi and to scale their businesses. So typically, we do also provide the access to a very ripe and growing market that supports these technology investments across all of the stages. So, for instance, angel investing and seed investors, early stage VCs are all investors that we look at having as part of our community at Hub 71 to allow access to capital for those startups. Now, we know that Hub 71 is backed by Mubadala Investment Company. One of our key strategic partners is Mubadala Ventures throughout their different offices, one of which is the MENA fund that is based out of Abu Dhabi. Obviously, we have Frédéric on the call who looks after the Europe fund based out of the UK. And then there's the US fund based out of the Silicon Valley. Now, marrying this with the backing that comes from the government, of Abu Dhabi under the Ghadan 21 program, which is a big stimulus program looking at attracting startups, investors, and diversifying the economy of Abu Dhabi. We do aim to improve the ease of doing business for startups by providing that access to whether it's flexible regulatory frameworks through Abu Dhabi Global Market, where Mariam represents it, or through access to capital across the various VCs that we have as part of our community.
And maybe in addition to what you just said, and looking at the rise in interest for tech investment, would you say also that family offices and corporate VCs are today also a new source of funding for a French startup in Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, I think these two sources of capital are new to the market. That we've seen them grow over the past few years. But yes, there's definitely an appetite from them to participate in funding startups for two different reasons, right? So I think corporates more and more are realizing that they can be disrupted overnight by a tech giant from Silicon Valley, right? So if you look at the damage that Apple and Google have done to the mobile phone industry, Nokia used to be the best company, and within a few years they're completely gone, right? So I think this kind of things scares every large corporates in every sector. So now they realize that they have to be more reactive, they have to be more nimble in this environment, and they have to be closer to innovation. So that has led to a number of large corporates, launching their own VC funds or launching their own incubators or their own some kind of external innovation programs. So we see, as a result of this, we see a lot of corporates' money in the market. We see this as being very, very good, actually, right? So there are some sectors that genuinely need some deep technical expertise, right? So if I think about smart robotics or autonomous vehicles, you need to have people who work in the industry to invest alongside traditional VCs, because it's great validation for us, right? So that's the corporate VC angle. So corporate VC money has been growing in the market, constantly, and then family offices as well. We see them more and more interested. This is a completely different motive from the corporate VCs. For them, it's more about looking for a different type of returns for the investments, and it's also sometimes some of these family offices also sometimes have a very entrepreneurial background, right? So sometimes there's someone in the family that's make money through setting up a number of large businesses. These people tend to like to back the next generation of entrepreneur, right? So there's some kind of emotional investment as well to a certain extent.
So we talked about Abu Dhabi as a hub and the assets also related to this ecosystem, as well as the strong and dynamic VC community. Therefore, several reasons that have led the Hub 71 and BPI France also to join forces in order to support startup and innovation in both regions. According to you, Jida, how will this partnership result in greater collaboration and growth for the companies?
Yeah, I mean, to this question, Mayel, I would like to take a step back and first kind of map out on a national-wide level. The UAE, Abu Dhabi particularly, is going through its own rapid kind of digital transformation. I mean, that was obviously accelerated by COVID, but the intention was always there, and the government and on a national level, there has always been a lot of initiatives to help foster innovation and entrepreneurship. In addition to that, there's a 10-year bilateral roadmap between the UAE and France on a national level, but also through Mubadala, there's a very strong relationship between Mubadala and BPI France. So for us, it was a natural conversation to have as to how can we leverage all of those existing strong partnership and create value for both of our ecosystems. So our partnership with BPI France, which we're very, very proud of and we're very excited about, will create hopefully significant opportunities to boost access to market for French startups that are looking at the MENA region as part of their expansion plan or scaling plans. And for our own Hub 71 startups that are global in nature, that come from many, many sectors. We do have today almost 60 startups under our portfolio in less than 2 years of us operating, it's a chance for them to access the EU market and the French ecosystem as well. For those that are looking to access VC funding from French VCs, as well as kind of corporates and accessing market in that sense. Now, the way we look at these things is how can we help leverage what we have already as part of Abu Dhabi's kind of ecosystem and ecosphere of supporting technology and innovation to extend that to French startups, particularly those that fall under the portfolio of one of our partners. So the new partnership that we have with BPI France will demonstrate this long-term commitment of us supporting the growth of French startups and entrepreneurs by allowing them access to our market, to our corporates, to our investors as well. So it is a bilateral kind of relationship. And we want to ensure that French startups, when they arrive to Abu Dhabi, they have a home and they have a launch pad where they can access incentives from the government. We do give free housing, free office space, and free health insurance at no equity, just to help startup kind of kickstart their journey of growth. We allow access to corporates through our corporate engagement program, where we have several corporates from multiple industries partnering with Hub 71 and really looking at committing and engaging and partnering with startups to disrupt their own industries. So the mindset is there. And then finally, what we provide that is so unique is the access to government entities and agencies, as well as a very favorable and open business regulatory framework that allows them to set up their businesses in a very flexible and open regulatory regime, which is ADGM. We do have very close partnerships with a lot of government agencies as well. So to Fred's point, for instance, health tech, we are partners with the Department of Health of Abu Dhabi, which is the regulator of healthcare in Abu Dhabi. We're looking at partnering with other agencies such as the Department of Transport for mobility startups. We are finalizing a partnership with the UAE Space Agency for aerospace and defense startups. And across our program at Hub 71, we also give startups at each stage of their journey access to programs that allows them to accelerate their growth and their success. So one of which is accelerator programs that are also world-renowned in particular sectors as well.
And following what you just said, and based on your experience, Sajida, what will be your advice to French startups that are very interested to build partnerships with corporates or government to work on tech projects?
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, we do encourage French startups to have a very good understanding about kind of the existing infrastructure of Abu Dhabi, its flexible regulatory environment to which Hub 71 is part of. So ADGM is based on the English common law, and all its program is actually designed to attract companies to register from all over the world at very minimal risk or cost and swiftly. I'm sure Miriam can elaborate some more about their tech startup license as well that allows entrepreneurs to grow and to scale and rapidly scale into the market. We do also encourage startups to embrace the power of the network that we bring to the table as Hub 71. Being able to put in those key enablers all under one roof is quite unique because you do have the private sector support that is keen on working with startups to disrupt their industries and to innovate and to stay at the forefront of their industry. But at the same time, being an initiative that is backed by the government, you do have that window to the policymakers and to the regulators to lobby and influence change. So we are somehow kind of like a mediator between a startup and the government agencies. And then finally, I think just the power of being the aggregator that brings all the key components for a startup to succeed, leveraging the community of investors that we have as part of Hub 71, understanding exactly what it takes to access other global markets through Hub 71, whether it's through our exchange programs with international and global organizations, just like our program with BPI France, but with others, or accessing other partners or assets that we have through our Mubadala network and our partnership with Mubadala and other kind of entities.
And so maybe if we focus a little bit on and very quickly on AI, this is a very trendy thematic and topic, and it has become a very strategic tech asset, I believe, for any country and any market. What will be the main today opportunities for tech collaboration in AI between French and Abu Dhabi startups?
There's two ways to look at AI. There's either kind of B2B AI technologies, or the use of AI and other technologies to basically be able to produce those startups, right? So, and the UAE in general and Abu Dhabi particularly is really keen on making sure that they attract the right technology startups and innovations to the country, in the sense of diversifying the economy, but also always staying at the forefront of various industries. So, for example, we're the first country worldwide that appointed a minister of AI back in 2017, just to show you how important this is on a national level. On Hub 71's level, we do bring a various community of innovators and investors all under one roof. And they are all looking at attracting startups that has an AI angle that can disrupt other industries. Even the partners that we bring to the table, like Microsoft, for instance, who is one of our key strategic partners, they are launching they have launched actually their Microsoft Reaction program, which is an upskilling program for free based out of Hub 71 to all startups that are looking to learn more about AI and how to upskill their own talent, but also themselves as entrepreneurs in that sphere. So we continue to reinforce our emphasis on AI, and startups that apply to our incentive program, they're all predominantly in the sector of AI, in addition to fintech and e-commerce.
Just to add to what Jida already sort of covered quite extensively, is that AI really is a very important part of the digital transformation of Abu Dhabi, and not only the UAE. I think for France and globally, this is a trend that we're seeing, and I believe that it will impact every sector regardless of where you are. There is a very interesting sort of development is when, like Jida said, sort of the launch of the first postgraduate AI university in Abu Dhabi. There is also recently there was the launch of the Sorbonne Center of AI as well, which is going to be collaborating directly with the campus in Paris to actually look at potential opportunities to collaborate between the UAE and France.
And so if I would have to sum up maybe what we had said during this discussion. So Abu Dhabi is a hub, definitely, for French startups, French companies. There is a strong network and ecosystem that can support their business development. This is also a place where technology is very important and a real asset for French entrepreneurs that want to identify some potential partners and additional inputs. The VC community is strong. Maybe one last open question to you all. Would you have any last advice that you would like to give to the French startups that are today considering to enter the market in Abu Dhabi, especially at a time where, due to the current COVID-19 context and so on, things might not be that easy in terms of strategic development?
Yeah, I probably have one piece of advice for the entrepreneurs. It's the concept of noise in the market. And so what I mean by this is I often compare the various ecosystems across the globe, right? And probably a good example is if you are a startup and you've raised $20 million and you're in Silicon Valley, nobody cares about you. You're nobody, right? Because there's another 1,000 startups who, like you, have raised $20 million. If you raise $20 million in Europe, people will take notice of you, right? And if you've raised $20 million in the MENA region, you will be one of 1 to 5 companies who've done this year, right? So you're in the top one of the top startups, and it matters a lot. Entrepreneurs really don't value the concept of noisy markets, right? It matters a lot when you try to hire people, so people know your name as a startup if you raise $20 million in MENA. It matters in terms of potential customers you're trying to sign up. It matters in terms of PR, etc., etc. There are so many benefits of being visible in a more nascent market versus being one of the other 5,000 startups in Silicon Valley. So I think the MENA market as being an emerging market, I think is very interesting in that sense.
You have over 300 million people. That's a large addressable market with opportunities. It's also a nascent ecosystem where there are sort of a lot of options in terms of tech development. It's quite ripe as an ecosystem. There are still opportunities when it comes to deep tech. Talent is available. Sort of again, when it comes to knowledge, we mentioned already the leading institutions that exist, whether that's sort of École 42 that has been announced sort of recently in Abu Dhabi that will directly support sort of the tech talent by developing recruiters. You have NYU, you have INSEAD, you have all of these institutions plus the support of the government that is willing and pretty active and working very, very closely together with the private sector and other enablers to really boost innovation and create an efficient platform for tech startups, both local and international, to come in and really use Abu Dhabi as a launch pad. So in my opinion, I think Abu Dhabi has a very, very strong value proposition. And like Fred said, sometimes there's a lot of noise. People tend to pay attention to larger and more global ecosystems, which might not be the right choice always.
Mayal, I'd just like to add to my fellow colleagues here. I think also there's an element of livability and safety in Abu Dhabi that, especially as you've mentioned, COVID now is really kind of second to none. So other than the fact that Abu Dhabi is very much strategically located in the middle, kind of, and its center of the East and West, with 80% of kind of the world's almost population is reachable within the 8-hour flight. We are really a hub kind of for a lot of different markets around the region. We're also home to 200 nationalities, which makes it a very diverse place to live and to feel as an international or as an international startup, particularly a French startup, that you have a home where you can find your way through a community that will make you feel like you can adapt quite quickly. And then obviously on a safety level, we're ranked at the highest rankings globally in terms of being one of the safest cities around the world. And now with COVID and the way it has been kind of controlled and with all the testing measures and the safety measures that are being taken into place and how the government has really kind of looked after that, all while continue to put a lot of importance on business continuity, et cetera, especially entrepreneurs with a lot of different incentives that were given by the government for that particular time. I mean, it just makes it such a safe place for people to live, to make their living, to bring their families, to put their kids in schools, et cetera. So this is something that I would like to add as well.
I'm pretty sure that French startups will either consider to initiate their business development over there or will increase it at least. And obviously, we hope that we'll also be able to visit you one day in the coming months, and that we'll also be able to connect with the ecosystem. Thanks a lot again, and talk to you soon.